When it comes to Taiwan, it appears the retaliation has already begun. China banned exports from 100 Taiwanese brands. Are you concerned that Taiwan is going to end up paying too steep a price for this U.S. visit?
There's no reason for that to happen, Nancy. As we said today and yesterday, no reason for China to take what is a perfectly legitimate and consistent travel by the Speaker of the House and turn it into some pretext for amping up the tensions or creating some sort of crisis or conflict. There's just simply no reason for that. And because she's not acting, we're not acting in any way inconsistent with the way we've been acting now for decades, since the Taiwan Relations Act was passed into law back in the late 70s. I can't speak for Chinese actions or Chinese decisions one way or another. We're going to continue to watch this and monitor this. I would just say that we don't support Taiwan independence. We've said that before. We do support Taiwan's self-defense in keeping with the Taiwan Relations Act. We're going to keep doing that, and we're going to keep working on revitalizing our alliances and partnerships in the region for a free and open Indo-Pacific.
And what is this going to do to the U.S.-China relationship, which is already so fraught?
I think the fact that the president talked to President Xi last week for 2 hours is an indication of how much the president understands and respects the consequential nature of this bilateral relationship. As I've said before, one of the most consequential, not just in the region, but in the world. And the president wants to keep those lines of communication open. It is particularly important to do that when there's times of tension like right now, to make sure those lines of communication remain open. So I would say, to answer your question, one, we don't want to see this spiral into any kind of a crisis or conflict. Again, we would say there's no reason to. Number two, we want to be able to maintain those lines of communication. But a lot of this is going to depend. Answering your question is going to depend a lot on how China behaves over coming days and weeks.
Hey, John,
We'll come to it.
John, given the concerns you were just talking about with China's actions in response to this visit by the Speaker, the heightened tensions, the risks of provocations and the like, does the President believe that the Speaker's trip is a net benefit to U.S. national security interests or not?
Look, the President doesn't typically comment on congressional travel. As I said, he respects her decision to go. And he believes it's perfectly consistent with American policy going back decades and supported by both parties.
But does he believe it hurts U.S. foreign policy interests in the region?
The President has already seen that Speaker Pelosi has already accomplished some important conversations on this trip with respect to foreign policy, with her stop in Singapore and Kuala Lumpur. And then, she's already announced she's moving on to Japan and South Korea, two of our treaty allies in the Pacific. So he welcomes her conversations. He welcomes her contributions to American foreign policy and our foreign policy objectives overseas. But, the trip's not even over yet. So I think we ought to give the Speaker a chance to talk about what she did, what she learned, and what she took away from this trip when she gets back.
And just back to the